Nobody respects you because you want them to. They respect you because of what you tolerate, what you repeat, and what you refuse to compromise. In the next few minutes, you'll discover 7 behaviors that instantly shift how people see you, without raising your voice, flexing authority, or demanding validation. Think about someone you deeply respect. Not someone loud, not someone famous, but someone steady, someone whose presence changes the room. Chances are it's not their title that earns your respect, it's their behavior. Respect isn't magic, it's a pattern, and patterns can be built. Speaking with clarity instead of volume is one of the most underrated forms of strength. Many people assume that being heard requires being loud, forceful, or dominant. But volume is often a substitute for certainty. When someone raises their voice to gain control of a conversation, it can signal insecurity rather than authority. Clarity, on the other hand, communicates that you have already done the internal work. You know what you think, you know why you think it, and you are comfortable enough with your position that you do not need to oversell it. Clarity begins before you speak. It starts with disciplined thinking. If your thoughts are scattered, your words will be too. Respected individuals take a moment to organize their ideas. They choose words carefully. They remove unnecessary filler. They avoid exaggeration. This precision shows mental control, and mental control earns attention. When your sentences are intentional, people lean in because they sense substance. Clarity also requires restraint. Instead of overwhelming others with excessive details to prove competence, you focus on what truly matters. You state your perspective simply and directly. This simplicity is not a lack of depth, it is mastery of it. When you can explain something complex in straightforward language, you demonstrate true understanding. That builds credibility. Tone plays a crucial role as well. A steady, measured voice carries more weight than a reactive one. When disagreements arise, clarity keeps the conversation grounded. Rather than attacking personalities, you address issues. Rather than speaking emotionally, you speak purposefully. This separates you from impulsive reactions and signals emotional maturity. Over time, people begin to associate your voice with reliability. They know that when you speak, it will be thoughtful, focused, and meaningful, and because you do not waste words, your words begin to matter more. Listening fully is one of the clearest signals of quiet confidence. In a world where most people compete to be heard, choosing to truly hear someone else sets you apart. It shows that you are secure enough not to dominate the space. When you listen without interrupting, without preparing your rebuttal, while the other person is still speaking, you communicate patience and control. That restraint alone commands respect because it demonstrates that your ego is not in charge. Full listening begins with presence. Eye contact, open body language, and the absence of distractions tell the other person that they have your attention. Checking your phone, glancing around the room, or cutting someone off mid-sentence sends the opposite message. Presence is rare, and rarity increases value. When people feel fully seen and heard by you, they begin to associate you with safety and trust. There is also a deeper layer to listening. Listening to understand, not to respond. Many conversations turn into silent debates where each person is simply waiting for their turn. But when you ask thoughtful follow-up questions, when you reflect back what you heard, you signal that you are processing rather than reacting. This builds credibility because it shows intellectual humility. You are open to perspectives beyond your own. Listening fully also gives you an advantage. You gather more information. You understand motivations, concerns, and emotions that others might miss. This awareness allows you to respond with clarity and relevance. Your words become more impactful because they are informed, not impulsive. Over time, people begin to seek your perspective because they know you will consider theirs first. And when someone feels valued in your presence, respect forms naturally without you ever demanding it. Taking responsibility, especially when it is uncomfortable, is one of the fastest ways to earn lasting respect. Most people instinctively protect themselves when something goes wrong. They explain, justify, deflect, or quietly shift the blame. It is a natural reaction driven by fear of judgment. But the moment you choose ownership instead of defense, you demonstrate maturity that stands out immediately. Responsibility begins with language. Instead of saying, "that happened because they didn't," you say, "I should have handled that better." This subtle shift removes excuses and replaces them with accountability. It tells others that you are more committed to growth than to protecting your image. That level of self-awareness is rare, and rarity builds credibility. Owning your mistakes also signals confidence. Insecure individuals avoid admitting fault because they believe it weakens their position. In reality, the opposite is true. When you acknowledge an error calmly and directly, you show that your identity is not fragile. You are not defined by one misstep. You are defined by how you respond to it. This steadiness reassures people that they can trust you, even when outcomes are imperfect. Taking responsibility also strengthens teams and relationships. When leaders model accountability, it creates psychological safety. Others feel permission to admit their own mistakes without fear of humiliation. This encourages learning rather than blame cycles. Over time, environments built on ownership outperform those built on defensiveness. There is also a long-term effect. Consistent accountability builds a reputation. People begin to associate your name with reliability. They know that if something goes wrong, you will address it directly rather than hide from it. And when people believe they can depend on your integrity under pressure, respect becomes automatic rather than conditional. Remaining calm under pressure is a visible form of inner strength. Anyone can appear composed when circumstances are favorable, when conversations are pleasant, and when outcomes are predictable. The true measure of character appears when tension rises, when deadlines tighten, or when criticism surfaces. In those moments, emotional reactions are easy. Steadiness is rare, and rarity earns respect. Calmness does not mean the absence of emotion. It means control over how emotion is expressed. When you pause before responding, when you lower your tone instead of raising it, you demonstrate that you are in command of yourself. That self-command reassures others. It tells them that even in uncertainty, you are stable. Stability creates psychological safety, and psychological safety builds trust. Pressure often amplifies personalities. Some people become reactive, defensive, or impulsive. But when you stay measured, you prevent situations from escalating. You think clearly while others are clouded by stress. This clarity allows you to make better decisions, which reinforces your credibility. Over time, people begin to look to you in challenging moments because your presence reduces chaos rather than adding to it. Calmness also communicates confidence. When you do not rush to prove yourself or panic at setbacks, you signal that you believe in your ability to navigate difficulty. That quiet assurance influences how others perceive your competence. It shows that you are not easily shaken by temporary obstacles. There is a ripple effect to composure. Emotions are contagious. Anxiety spreads quickly, but so does steadiness. When you regulate yourself, you help regulate the room. Others begin to mirror your tone and pace. In high-pressure environments, this influence becomes invaluable, and the person who consistently brings that grounded energy becomes someone others naturally respect and rely on. If this message resonates with you, pause for a moment and reflect. Which of these 7 behaviors do you already practice, and which one needs work? Share your answer or write it down. Awareness is the first step toward change. Setting clear boundaries is one of the most powerful ways to establish self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of how others treat you. When you tolerate behavior that diminishes your time, energy, or values, you silently communicate that it is acceptable. People take cues from what you allow. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about defining what you will and will not participate in. Clear boundaries begin with self-awareness. You must understand your limits before you can communicate them. This includes recognizing when something feels misaligned, disrespectful, or overwhelming. Instead of ignoring that internal signal to avoid discomfort, respected individuals acknowledge it. They understand that temporary awkwardness is better than long-term resentment. The way boundaries are expressed matters. They do not require aggression or hostility. In fact, calm and direct communication is far more effective. Saying, "I'm not available for that," or "that approach doesn't work for me," is firm without being confrontational. This tone communicates confidence rather than defensiveness. When you speak with steadiness, people are less likely to challenge your limits. Boundaries also create predictability. When others know your standards, they adjust their behavior accordingly. Over time, this reduces misunderstandings and builds mutual respect. Consistency is key. If you enforce a boundary one day and ignore it the next, confusion replaces clarity. But when your actions consistently align with your words, your credibility strengthens. There is also an internal shift that happens when you uphold your boundaries. You begin to trust yourself more. Each time you honor your values instead of compromising them for approval, your self-confidence grows. That internal alignment becomes visible externally. People sense when someone knows their worth, and when you consistently demonstrate that you value your time, energy, and principles, others respond by valuing them as well. Giving credit generously is a powerful signal of security. When someone consistently acknowledges the contributions of others, it reveals a mindset rooted in abundance rather than scarcity. Insecure individuals often cling to recognition because they fear being overlooked. They subtly highlight their own role, minimize others' input, or remain silent when praise could be shared. In contrast, a respected person understands that recognition is not a limited resource. Sharing it does not reduce their value, it multiplies it. Generosity with credit begins with awareness. It requires paying attention to who contributed, who stayed late, who offered the idea that shifted direction. Instead of absorbing the spotlight when a project succeeds, you intentionally redirect it. You say, "This was her insight," or "He handled the critical part." That public acknowledgement builds trust. It shows that you are fair and observant, not self-serving. There is also strategic wisdom in this behavior. When people feel seen for their efforts, their loyalty deepens. They become more willing to collaborate, to support your initiatives, and to go the extra mile. Recognition fuels motivation. By distributing credit, you strengthen the entire group rather than elevating yourself at its expense. Over time, this creates a culture of mutual respect, where contributions are valued openly. Generosity with credit also enhances your reputation. Others begin to describe you as someone who uplifts those around you. Ironically, the more you highlight others, the more your leadership becomes evident. People notice who is creating the environment where everyone thrives. This behavior reflects a deeper confidence. You are not threatened by the success of others because you understand that leadership is not about standing above people, but standing with them. And when others consistently experience fairness and appreciation in your presence, their respect grows naturally and endures over time. Acting from purpose rather than approval is one of the clearest markers of inner alignment. Many people make decisions based on how they will be perceived. They adjust their opinions to fit the room, soften their standards to avoid conflict, or pursue goals that impress others rather than fulfill them. While this may generate short-term acceptance, it rarely creates deep respect. Respect grows when people sense that your actions are anchored in something stable and deeply considered. Purpose provides that anchor. When you are guided by clear values, your behavior becomes consistent across environments. You do not shift dramatically depending on who is watching. This consistency builds predictability, and predictability builds trust. Others know where you stand because your decisions are not random or reactionary. They are filtered through principles that remain steady even under pressure. Acting from purpose also requires courage. There will be moments when your values are unpopular or inconvenient. Choosing integrity over applause may cost you immediate validation. Yet, this willingness to stand firm communicates strength. It shows that your identity is not dependent on external approval. People may not always agree with you, but they will recognize the conviction behind your choices. Purpose sharpens decision-making. Instead of chasing every opportunity or reacting impulsively, you evaluate whether something aligns with your long-term vision. This discipline reduces distractions and signals focus. Focused individuals are often perceived as confident because their energy is directed rather than scattered. There is a quiet magnetism in someone who moves with intention. They are not performing for attention. They are building towards something meaningful. Over time, others begin to respect not just what they achieve, but the clarity of why they pursue it. And that clarity becomes the foundation of enduring influence. Living with consistency is what transforms all the previous behaviors from isolated actions into a recognizable identity. Anyone can demonstrate clarity once, remain calm in a single stressful moment, or take responsibility when the consequences are small. But respect is not built on occasional discipline. It is built on patterns that repeat over time. When your actions align with your words repeatedly, people stop questioning your character. They begin to rely on it. Consistency creates credibility because it removes uncertainty. If your mood, standards, and values shift depending on convenience, people hesitate to trust you. They may admire your strengths, but they will remain cautious. On the other hand, when you respond predictably, fairly, calmly, and with integrity, others feel secure around you. They know what to expect. That predictability does not make you rigid, it makes you dependable. There is also an internal benefit to consistency. Each time you act in alignment with your stated values, you strengthen your self-trust. Self-trust fuels confidence, and confidence is visible. It shows up in posture, tone, and decision-making. People often describe consistent individuals as grounded because their behavior is not swayed by fleeting emotions or external pressure. Consistency requires discipline. It means upholding boundaries even when you are tired. It means giving credit even when you could easily take it. It means staying calm even when you feel provoked. These repeated choices compound over time, shaping how others perceive you. Eventually, your reputation begins to speak before you do. People anticipate fairness, steadiness, and integrity because they have witnessed it repeatedly. And when your character becomes predictable in the best way, respect is no longer something you earn moment by moment. It becomes something attached to your name. Respect was never about dominance, status, or demanding attention. It has always been about alignment. Alignment between what you say and what you do. Alignment between your values and your choices. Alignment between how you treat others and how you treat yourself. When you speak with clarity, you show that your thoughts are disciplined. When you listen fully, you show that your ego is not in control. When you take responsibility, you prove that growth matters more than image. When you remain calm under pressure, you demonstrate inner strength. When you set boundaries, you define your worth. When you give credit generously, you reveal security. When you act from purpose, you show conviction. And when you live consistently, you transform all of it into a reputation. None of these behaviors require a title. None require permission. They are choices available in everyday moments, conversations, disagreements, decisions, and setbacks. Respect is not built in grand gestures. It is built in repeated, often quiet actions that signal integrity. Over time, people begin to feel something around you: stability, fairness, intention. They may not always articulate it, but they respond to it. They trust you. They rely on you. They value your presence. And that is what respect truly is. Not fear, not admiration from a distance, but confidence in your character. So the question is no longer, how do I make people respect me? The real question becomes, how do I choose to show up today? Because when the way you show up reflects strength, clarity, and purpose, respect stops being something you chase. It becomes something you carry with you wherever you go.